And it is what it seems. Topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit. Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1. Hella hopes on Web 2. I was living a dream. Now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems. Topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like LeBron James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a bit. Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1. Hella hopes on Web 2. I was living a dream. Now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems. Topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you already done so, do us a favor, give us a look. I'm going to do that again. Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Appreciate y'all being here. Shout out to the early birds warming up the chats. We are live on X audio, X video, Abstract, and YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe while you're over there. Would greatly appreciate it. Howdy, Black Mage and Thomas, Web3 Warhead. Riss, Brian in the chat. We got Mel and Beanie battling back and forth for that first GM in the audio spaces. Green Edge, Teacher Katie, Joey, appreciate you all. Mike C, Ozy, Brick It All the legends in the chat this morning. Greatly appreciated. Zombie Rob Dillo, not to miss anyone. I'm confused on the sentiment of the market participants. I think we are back. Not just NFTs at bottom. Like, things are ripping and debating where to go this morning. I mean, yes, news like Allbirds pivoting into AI and ripping up 600% yesterday. S&P at all-time high, S&P 500 at all-time high, Hyperliquid's up 80% since the Iran conflict broke out. Fear and greed went from all-time lows and extended longest time ever in extreme fear to, I mean, it was fear and greed, if you remember, was a 5, the lowest we've ever seen it, February 5th. The Iran conflict broke out February 28th, and it's been pretty much up only since. Like, we're now back into greed on the fear and greed chart. So I'm confused on where a lot of market participants are still bearish or think we're in a bear. I just see Mayhem say Bitcoin headed that direction shortly, talking 50K. I mean, yes, there is a lot of uncertainty still, but markets seem to be back. And I think actually, maybe this will be the title. Kraken to let's go S&P at all-time high. Kraken to IPO. Like, these aren't things you see in a quote unquote bear market. Do you? Like, I know I'm an optimist, so hopefully someone can take the other side of this conversation this morning, because I don't understand. I'm not fully understanding the bearish sentiment. I get the global uncertainty. I get war is uncomfortable, and I'm anti-war. Historically, it does good for markets. You see financial accounts, the one I pinned up top, Wolf Financial, who's got a pretty good pulse in the market. They've had some pretty solid takes. You know, their portfolio 2 weeks ago, portfolio today, really seems to me like things have bounced. I mean, a lot of green across the board. Yes, I'm bullish Hyperliquid. I'm biased due to bags, but it's not like it's not. I'll just say my bags aren't the size I'm even considering cashing out Hyperliquid. It is just, I mean, we got scammers coming back in the chats. People like we're seeing so many signs that you just don't see. Like, just focusing on Kraken, they were going to IPO, the market tanked, and they delayed their IPO. They pulled their IPO off the table, and now just yesterday they announced they're going to IPO. Like, that's, to me, that's a pretty big indicator that capital's back on and risk on, and big capital is making moves. Let's look at ETF inflows, outflows. I don't know, man. It feels like, I think the bear market's over, and not everyone agrees. And I need to be talked off my shoving all the chips in. I still am. I mean, I have some positions, but I still have stables that I've not yet deployed, and mainly because like on something like Hyperliquid, I was hoping for one more pullback to just go get a bigger position. Should have moved, as I shared many times on this show now, that I felt it was ready to go, not only pick up more spot, but open up a levered long. And you had a couple whales on stake. Phonics tried to talk me out of it. That usually means nothing. I was waiting for them to sell and think we'd get another dip, and it's just ripped up since. So now I feel like I'm chasing. So it's like, okay, what else? And I think maybe part of the sentiment here is not all of crypto has bounced yet, but stocks are. I mean, even like I was ready to. I had some, long story, but I had some RSUs that I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. I didn't think I got them. I thought all my stuff from my time in corporate America was already, everything I was getting, I thought was already vested and paid out. And long story short, that happens every year, is when the RSUs and stuff vest. And I had another, like, just some windfall I was not anticipating hit my account, my Morgan Stanley, then to E-Trade at the end of, actually, I didn't even know it hit until I just randomly looked something else up, and like, what the heck is this? It was like finding the $20 in your winter coat jacket, except add a couple zeros. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to buy Tesla, and I didn't. And the next day it rips up 8%. Because I wasn't keeping. I quickly sold the company I work for. I'm bearish them, but was looking for, okay, what is, where do I redeploy this in the stock market? And I waited. Well, I actually was forced to wait over the weekend. It's also, I guess I'll share this story because it does drive home how much better on-chain trading is. Like, I'm so, I guess, spoiled or now accustomed to real-time trading. It doesn't matter what it is. Oil, stocks, tokens, fungibles, non-fungibles, anything trades and it settles instantly with near zero fees. My stock account, my employer stock account is Morgan Stanley. I can trade that in E-Trade. It's just the accounts that are linked. And so I sell, I don't know, say 100 shares. We'll just use easy math. And it settled, the trade settled. And it's like, all the funds will be available in, I think it said like 2 to 3 business days. It's like, what? And I'm not like, I don't know if it was something because it came out of an employee brokerage account. I don't remember. I'm not trading. I mostly invest in stocks. I don't day trade. And I don't remember having to wait 72 hours for my funds to become available to redeploy. And so anyways, by the time I get back in to redeploy, everything is ripped up like 8-10%. I'm like, well, I'm not buying a rip. And the next day they went up again. So I don't know. I feel it was a reminder that how like the world is just, it's coming on chain. It's not just me saying this. I think it was one of the big firms. I retweeted it yesterday. I'll go find it. Just talked about, once again, the world is coming on chain. Everything is getting tokenized. And Morgan Stanley should have remembered that yesterday. $2 trillion Morgan Stanley says tokenization is the next major step for its business. Also, Mayhem, we were talking, the account you showed was Whale Guru. Are we sure you weren't thinking of Watcher Guru is the large account? Watcher Guru is the kind I quoted yesterday. They've got about 4 million followers. Whale Guru showed account suspended. I don't remember if that was a large account or not, but this is the one I was referencing. Launched their Bitcoin ETF last week. Now calling for tokenization as the next major step. It seems like the TradFi world is coming on chain. Like everything we talked about, like, oh, this is going to happen someday. It's happening, and now I feel like majority of people around me, like the majority of the active crypto participants, are bearish. And I'm struggling to I mean, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm looking like, help me understand why, because I'm ready to go shove all the chips in, go full risk on, open up some crazy longs. And what am I missing other than war, which again, historically, I don't like it. I wish the war would be over, but it's typically bullish for markets. Dobbin says, people thinking we're in a bear market when we're in a mid bull. I remember 22, we went from 50K to 30K and eventually went back up. I don't think it's over. Yeah, we could dip. There's a sentiment good in markets right now, but there's probably a dip regardless. There'll always be a dip. Yeah, it's always nothing goes just up only, at least not forever. You like the QR code. Good call out. I forget about the QR code. Let's do the newsletter. We'll do BZ tomorrow. QR code, good call. Yeah, it does fit nicely in that corner. I'm going to leave that poster blank so we can get a good spot for the QR code. If you haven't yet, go hit the newsletter, coffeewithcaptain.com. Drop your email. We don't spam you. You get one a week. It's a good recap on all happenings throughout the course of the week, and helps us out. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, Dobbins isn't saying he doesn't think the bull is over. It was confusing. Yeah, I mean, Fartcoin's up 10% overnight. I think the Kraken news is really big news, because if not only Kraken, if the capital thought we were in the depths of a bear, they're not going to IPO. They're not going to move forward. They're not going to bring back their plans to IPO. They would wait. Is it because our alts haven't ran yet? Not all NFTs have ran. Like, I don't know. Zonko adds, the Morgan Stanley fees on RSUs are absolutely crazy. Might be different plan to plan, but they take half my shares. Oh, they didn't take half my shares. No, it wasn't that bad. In fact, so I know Morgan Stanley owns E-Trade now, but when my shares vest, they just become available, and to trade them, I transfer them to my E-Trade account, and then in my E-Trade account, I have a like an employer stock plan, and then I have my individual brokerage account, and I can trade them out of there. And I think on, I don't know, like I don't really care. This isn't like, ooh, look at me. It's I'm definitely not a whale, but it was like, 5-figure trade cost me like 27 cents. So fees were very, very minimal. I just sold all my shares in one swoop. And it might have been $2.70, but it definitely was less than $5 on a 5-figure trade. I truly think it was less than $1. Now I'm curious. I'm going to go look, but this makes the most sense. This actually, I think this I get. I wholeheartedly get this from the uncertainty standpoint, from a market standpoint. Hizzy says, my fear is more jobs, incomes, housing markets, not necessarily the market. Wholeheartedly agree. Global uncertainty is still peaking. I think there's going to be more jobs eliminated than jobs created over the next foreseeable future. I don't know. I have a daughter going to college, and fortunately, she's going into a realm that, at least her initial thought of what she wants to major in and do for a living is protected against AI and the robots. Housing market, I think, does continue to drop. I know Hizzy's in Texas, not necessarily Austin, but Austin has just been crushed. There's 2 times as many sellers as buyers right now. In a market that was booming and kind of like the golden child of real estate for a while, is way down. I don't know what happens with jobs, incomes, housing market. I understand that can have a trickle down effect throughout the economy. We were just talking urea. Yes, I guess some people use it on their face, but it primarily is used in fertilizer. And a lot of American farmers, a lot of U.S. farmers didn't get enough. They're unable to get the fertilizer they're going to need for the next season. Now, fortunately, I think if that's a problem, my understanding is it's going to lag a year. Like harvest here, most harvest is in the fall, and they're already planted. So like they already had their fertilizer ordered for this spring's plant. And so yes, there are other things that maybe they plant in the fall, sure, but most of, when you think of like U.S. farmers, they plant in the spring, they harvest in the fall. This year, they'd already bought their fertilizer well before the Iran conflict broke out, and the majority of them had, already planted or already at least secured their fertilizer for their spring plant. And I think there'll be a minimal impact this fall. Now, things continue on. If there's still a shortage of urea and fertilizer, then it could absolutely continue on. I wasn't even aware. It's my first time seeing this fertilizer disaster, fertilizer explosion. I wasn't aware of this at all. Pretty wild. 78th anniversary of the fertilizer explosion. Speaking of urea, mass explosion after multiple attempts to extinguish a smoldering fire. 16 hours later, a second blast rocked the city. Yeah, I was not aware of this. I'll flash it. This is from our resident Texan, Hizzy. But I don't know. I'm genuinely looking for like, what am I like? So yes, I agreed on all the stuff on jobs and the uncertainty, what AI is going to bring. But by nature, I skew towards certainly on the optimistic side. I'd like to think I'm somewhat of a realist, but if you ask me if I want to look at the positive or the negative of something, I'm going to look at the positive. And when it comes to AI, I think there's a much greater chance it leads to abundance than it does opportunities than it does doom and gloom. And there's no jobs at all. There's no opportunities. I think jobs will be very different. I think you'll see a lot more entrepreneurs. I think you'll see a lot more businesses, et cetera, et cetera. I don't even know what potash is, but states are going to be short potash. 80% comes from Canada. That's a problem for farmers too. So potash related to farming per Diablito. Yeah, starvation delayed 1 year, basically. Yeah, I don't think people are going to starve, but prices could go up. I mean, eggs after ripping up for years are like all-time lows now. So hopefully you didn't round trip your basket of eggs. I understand the uncertainty. I understand concern. I too share concern. But if we're talking markets, if we're talking stocks, I guess commodities, crypto, even as far out as NFTs, like not only are the numbers and the data supported over the last month-ish, let's say 6 weeks, quite frankly, and again, I'm not saying this isn't political. I'm just looking at charts. Like, let me just pull up the hyperliquid chart. I don't think I'm in another country right now. So yeah, I can't do any trades, but let's look at the hyperliquid chart. I think a good indicator of markets, at least good tokens, good products, good protocols, one that happens to make money. How's the market responding? And I know there's a lot of variables, and this is just one example, but the Iran conflict broke out here. It's up 80% since the war broke out. Where did I go? Back to yesterday, net inflows of 186 million for Bitcoin on $3 billion of volume. The day before, 400 million. So in the last 2 days, there's been over $500 million of net inflows. The day before, it was negative, a couple hundred million. But the 2 days prior to that, another $500 million of net inflows for Bitcoin. ETH. Let me just show the chart so you can see what I'm looking at. Be better. This is the ETH ETF flows over the last week. Let me put it in USD. Yesterday, 68 million, 53 million. These are all net inflow numbers. 9 million, 65 million, 85 million. Then we had a week ago on the 8th, 18 million out, 64 million out. The day before that, it was 120 million in, 71 million out, 11 billion in. 11 billion? That can't be right. Oh, this was, is that right? That can't be right. I mean, per this, there was back-to-back days of over 11 billion of net inflows for ETH, both on the backs of Fidelity. Never mind. That's total. That's why. And that's the range. God. You know, you don't have to be smart to do this. You got to be able to talk halfway decent and consistently for a couple hours. The Fidelity 2 billion was over from July 23rd, so all time basically. All time is 11 billion net inflows. But over the last since the beginning of this month, 1, 2, 3 red days, and every other one has been green for ETH. I think Bitcoin pretty similar. 1, 2, 3 red days. Every other day has been green. Again, hyperliquid up 80%. Allbirds flips to AI and rips up. Now, I do think the whole pivot to AI is we're going to see the euthanasian roller coaster play out again. There's definitely going to be others do this. It's just like Long Island Iced Tea pivoted to a Bitcoin company back in the last mania, stock ripped up, and now they're basically zero. You're going to see others go, like just like DATS of a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever that became a thing. This is also not, it's not like a shoe company pivoted to AI. A shoe company sold. Allbirds was a $5 billion company. They crashed. They made some bad moves, and they speed ran to zero. They sold all their assets, including the company, for $39 billion. Essentially what happened, and they're not calling it this, but it was basically a reverse IPO for another AI company. The buyers bought Allbirds because they were publicly traded, So they bought a shell of a publicly traded company for $39 million. Maybe there were some other assets that were they utilized, but for all intents and purposes, they bought a shell company for $39 million and reverse IPO'd. Instead of having to start an AI company and then go the long haul of actually IPOing, they bought the shell, the publicly traded shell for $39 million, raised $50 million on a convertible note, and then announced that we're an AI company now, and stock exploded. We're going to see a lot of others do this. You'll see some other reverse IPOs. You'll also see some companies that are floundering and don't know what to do. They'll just pivot into some sort of AI company. And in the short term, you'll probably see similar stock pumps. Most of them will then not make it. But so it's like with Allbirds, I don't know. I'm probably going to short it. I think it may pump for a little bit, and then I'm going to look for an opportunity to short. Dor says, do you mind if I share? I should ask because you're sharing in a private chat. So let me know. I was going to read a quote, but I think people are giving me a hard time for quoting the War Room in real time. So I will ask before I share your takes, but it is helpful. I guess I could just stick with the general chat. Appreciate you all being here, and I'll scan that first. Dort, if it's okay, I'll share. If not, no worries. So he says, I don't know if this feels like a micro bull right now within a macro bear, which could be halfway over. It's also possible. Maybe this is it. Where it is a little. It's a bull trap. We're in the midst of the bear, and this is just a short-term pump. I don't think the case. I think the bull has begun. It's just not everyone has. It's just not everything's broken out yet. He goes on to say, not sure if we can ever get a true bull with new all-time highs until we see the signals we're currently seeing, but more in both crypto and broader markets, coupled with actual massive shifts in macro global sentiment, inflation trends, interest rates, monetary policy, trade policy, conflicts, political instability. I think trying to differentiate public sentiment and inflation as far as like consumer wellness, consumer well-being versus markets. Hans, thank you very much for the tip. Greatly appreciated. The masses can go broke. Inflation can cripple the masses. Gas can be crazy. And groceries are ridiculously expensive. Ridiculously expensive. It's absurd. All that can be true at the same time. Markets, financial markets, assets can be in a bull. Assets can rip to all time. It's happening. Like inflation sucks, groceries suck, gas sucks. The S&P 500 is at an all-time high. It just is. Maybe Bitcoin isn't at an all-time high. It's certainly not. I think in addition to the conflict in Iran, I still think there is some trailing effects of October 10th. Whatever happened on October 10th, I think is still like in crypto. I think it has a lingering effect in crypto. It can be extremely volatile. Let me pull up that global uncertainty index as well. Because I think, and this is like, I know every cycle is different, but when I think back to 21, 22, Bitcoin was extremely volatile. A lot of us were just so like distracted maybe by NFTs that we didn't maybe notice the 40% pullbacks. Because I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin chart, looks kind of crazy. It does look pretty crazy. Extremely volatile. But let me do some quick math. we are just since, so Iran conflict broke out February 28th. And since then, like without looking at the chart before I pull it up, what would you think since the Iran conflict broke out, do you think Bitcoin is up or down? And what percentage? I genuinely am curious. I'm going to do this as a poll. We will lean full into the widgets today. Since 228, is Bitcoin up 1 to 10%? Up greater than 10%? Down 1 to 10%? Or down greater than 10%? That poll is in the chat. If you think it's up 1 to 10%, drop a 1 in the chat. Where this captures in the poll is in X video spaces and YouTube. If you think it's up greater than 10%, hit 2. If you think it's down 1 to 10%, hit 3. And if you think it's down greater than 10%, hit 4. Drop your, without looking at the chart, where do you think Bitcoin, how has Bitcoin performed since February 28th? First votes in and calling up 1 to 10%. Diablito adds, the egg issue was a chicken flu, I believe. They had to slaughter so many chickens, the egg production was severely hurt. I think that was the start of it. I think you're right. I think all this was well before any of the recent conflicts. Need for me to feel like a bear for it to really be a bear? Is that what you're saying? It's kind of like my hope is that the bear is beginning to end, see a little daylight. Maybe we just hit the top of the roller coaster and we look down and see a little light. I definitely don't think it's a real bull beginning, but man, that would be dope. I'm not a chart or I'm not going to draw lines on charts. I'm not a technical analyst. I do believe, though, that it's hard to know exactly when the bull starts. It's hard to know exactly when a bear starts. It's much easier in hindsight. It's much easier after the fact to look back at, oh, that was the bottom, or oh, that was the top. So I don't know as if we'll know exactly. The poll is on StreamYard, Mel. If you're not on video, you probably can't see it, but it's just a poll on the video stream. So it shows the poll on the stream. Right now, it's 100% on up 1 to 10%. You can vote by putting 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the YouTube chat or in the X video chat. 1 is for up 1 to 10%. 2 is up greater than 10%. 3 is down 1 to 10%. 4 is down greater than 10%. Zonko says, yeah, it's not the Morgan Stanley fees, it's withholding tax. Yeah, I don't have to deal with that. I pay no state income tax in the state of Florida. And I do pay withholding tax, but not on not state-wise. So you think when I think it's a bear, then we're really in a bear? Is that what you're saying? Am I understanding that correctly? Last time we pumped good was when I was debating capitulating my ETH bag. I didn't capitulate, just for the record. ETH was around 1,400, and so maybe that's what you're saying. Once I feel like, oh shit, we might be actually. I don't know. Like I flip. I need to go back and check the tape, but I flip bearish to bullish. I want to say within the last month. I mean, it's since the Iran conflict broke out, I too was this uncertainty. I didn't know where the hell we were at. I didn't know what the heck was happening. And I was shorting stuff. And then within the past month is when I flipped. I flipped on NFTs. I flipped on Bitcoin, Hyperliquid, ETH. Those are really my three. I mean, what I'm going to probably do today, go buy some Rect. We're going to have OSF on tomorrow. Let me drop that in the chat now. Do me a favor, hit the reminders on this link. I'm going to drop in the chat and pin up top. If you don't mind, I would appreciate it. Reminder for Friday's show. Ovi's going to be joining us talking all things Rect. So yeah, that is in the chat. I'll pin it up top right now and appreciate all the love on that. Would love to have a full house in here. You guys have been awesome lately in, we had like 300 concurrent in here on the audio spaces yesterday. Also, that doesn't happen in a bear. Just saying. I don't know if we've ever depths of the bear minus some crazy drama, and there was no crazy drama yesterday. We typically don't see. I don't remember seeing 300 plus. I take that back. We've had some guests. Sometimes we have, but so that's the show reminder for tomorrow is pinned up top. Appreciate the love on that. You all are awesome, and it really does not only make our guests feel good, but it helps us continue to attract great guests. Cycles, I do agree. Cycles are faster and faster. And I think this is part of it is I think a lot of people are still thinking of the 4-year cycle. I think it's done. At least in crypto, I don't think 4-year cycles are a thing anymore. I think it's over. I think it was previously driven by Bitcoin having cycles. And yes, it's still having every 4 years, but it's not as impactful. And the fact that it's made it into TradFi, the fact that we have ETFs, that there's so much institutional money, I think that's greater than the 4-year halving cycle. I do need another coffee. So it's so wild, Trekkie, that you say that. Is yesterday, I think I even shared on the show that I was feeling good and it traded direct energy. I don't know what it is, but I woke up just dragging this morning. I almost skipped the gym. I was glad I went and like grinded out a workout, but I don't know what it is. I am dragging today. It was one of those where if not for the show, I'd probably be taking a nap right now at 8:30. I was, so my apologies. I would try to pick up the pace a little bit and get some excitement back in my voice. I am excited. I do feel good. I don't know what it is. I thought I slept fine last night. Maybe this is my sign. I need to reactivate a Whoop or an Apple Watch and start tracking my sleep, because I don't know why I would be off a little bit today. But I am keeping it real. I'm feeling a little off. Want to flash a couple other charts here, and then I see Joey flew up with his hand. Again, if you want to get in on the vote, drop it in the YouTube chat or the X video. A 1 is you think Bitcoin's up 1 to 10% since the Iran conflict broke out. A 2 up greater than 10%. A 3 down 1 to 10%, and a 4 down greater than 10%. No, so far no one's voted down. That's probably because of how I set it up. But Joey, I think that is the thing you posted is, I'm pretty sure that's just a shit post. I don't think it's real. It's just someone farming engagement. I talked about the Global Uncertainty Index. Let me flash that real quick, because it is still very, this is very real. And what I think we're market-wise, it's hard to say we're in a bear market when the S&P 500 is at an all-time high. Crypto, I guess you could argue, is still in a bear market. I don't know how. I don't know what data supports that. But I don't know how you can say we're in a bear market when S&P is an all-time high. Literally never been higher. That's not bear market. And if that is the case, holy cow. Like if we're in a bear market and S&P is 500 is an all-time high, Global Uncertainty Index is an all-time high. Imagine what the heck, where are we in a bull? Like that should get you excited. Even if you think we're in a bear market, fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I don't really know. If I did, I'd be wealthier than I am. Global Uncertainty Index, near all-time highs, pretty much, like right at it, basically. Has been chopped a little bit, but pretty much this is lagging a bit too. It just through the beginning of February, and this is like right before the thing broke out. So let me see. Let me see if I can find a more recent one. Where do you think we head if if we're in a bear right now and we go to a bull, like holy cow, like S&P 500 goes from 7,000 to 10,000. Like I don't know, like things could really, really get crazy. To answer the question, to answer the poll, since the Iran conflict broke out, Bitcoin is up 21%. Not 5, not 10. It's up 21%. Here's where it broke out. We were at 60K basically. It hit right. Like I think there was some speculation of the war that week. I don't remember exactly. You all can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think there was some speculation, fear. Again, remember February 5th, fear and greed was at 5, an all-time low. Very much in a bear. And it continued down. February 24th, we hit 62. February 28th, the Iran conflict becomes official. We're at 62 and some change. And yes, it's been extremely volatile. Like the chart is crazy, but we're up from 62K to almost, I mean, we hit 75, 76 yesterday. Today, right now, 74, 557. That's up 21% since the Iran conflict broke out. That was 6 weeks ago. In the last 6 weeks, we're up 21%. And I'm not arguing. I just, so many people, like to me, my read on the active participants, those that are in my close circle, is not the minority, the majority feel we're in the depths of a bear. And I'm just really struggling reconciling that. I know I skew optimistic. I know I'm delusional at times. By the way, there's now science supporting you all should be delusional. Let me go find this. Join me on the delusional bus. Let me go find this, and then we will get to our hands. I say Shiloh joined us as well. Let me go find this science now supporting it's in your best interest to be delusional, and science is backing this now. Also, while I'm looking for that, kind of a PSA. I was like, I've been talking about getting a tattoo forever. I think I'm out. I think I'm out on the tattoos. I feel fine how I look. I can obviously better. I can continue to get healthier. But now science has said that people with tattoos are 29% higher risk of getting skin cancer. Not great. Big studies, and it's not just, the worst part is it doesn't just stay in your skin. It breaks apart, travels through your body, into your lymph nodes, and oftentimes the cancer is not even the spot where they got the tattoo. So I don't know. So maybe it's a small sample size, not to bring anyone down that has tattoos. I like tattoos. I enjoy tattoos, but I think I'm either I got psyoped into not getting one, or I'm making the wise move. But I think I'm probably out on the tattoo. So this was, man, I need to find who quote tweeted this, because the one of the quote tweets was what I really wanted to see. Let me copy paste this in the chat. Science confirms that brain cells are influenced by your self-talk. And then someone quote tweeted that and went into your brain processes. Like this is also like, this isn't new information. Yes, it's maybe new for science and actually doing studies, but I've shared before, one of the first books I got turned on to as far as like success principles and just different way of thinking was, and I know he's also a controversial character now, I didn't at the time, but the topics, the content I do believe holds, but it was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the first chapter in there is thoughts are things. And like to TLDR it, like if you believe you can't do something, don't even attempt, give up. Like if you don't think you can do something, your odds of you ever actually doing it are very slim to none. Conversely, if you think you can do something, you may find a way to get there. Like your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what you put in your brain. It's like, I'm stealing this from another book, talked about like first time ever saying this as I've donned the moniker captain, you're the captain and your subconscious mind is a crew. Think about like a Viking boat, and the captain yells row and the crew rows. Your subconscious mind does what you tell your mind. It can't differentiate reality from just things you're believing, you're making up in your head. And I don't understand how it works. I just had some very successful people early in life turn me onto these success principles, turn me on to positive mental attitude and different way of thinking. I'm forever grateful for it because it's treated me very well. A lot of my personal journey, and I could give story after story after story after specific goals that I'd set, and they came true on the exact day I said it. I'm not going to go there today, but maybe another day. I think I probably shared on the show before. My 24th birthday in particular gives me chills even thinking about it. Anyways, I'm coming back to this. Ashka Gupta says, your brain processes self-talk through the same neural circuits it uses for actual speech. Broca's area, the auditory cortex and the prefrontal cortex all fire when you're just thinking words silently. This is where it gets wild. When participants in a fMRI study repeated self-affirming phrases like "I am capable," their nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward hub, showed 30% greater activation compared to neutral phases. The nucleus accumbens sits deep in the basal forebrain and receives dopamine signals that encode prediction errors. And when you tell yourself something positive, your brain reward circuitry interprets it as a success expectancy and primes the system to respond more vigorously to actual rewards. The mechanism works in both directions. Negative self-talk suppresses dopamine release in the same circuit. Low tonic dopamine in the nucleus accumbens produces, I shouldn't have started reading this, and hedonia, fatigue, and reluctance to start tasks. The symptoms most people call lack of motivation are often just dopamine deficit created by their own internal dialogue. Here's a practical piece. Ethan Cross at Michigan found that third-person self-talk, you've got this instead of I've got this, creates psychological distance that reduces some part of your brain. Reactivity, the amygdala is your brain's threat detector. I can only imagine like Dort just shaking his head at me, mispronouncing all these science words, these brain words. By using your own name or you instead of I, you activate the same prefrontal override used in cognitive reappraisal, the clinical technique therapists use to reframe negative thoughts. Your inner voice also activates the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which directly suppresses amygdala activity. A phrase as simple as calm down, this is just a test, literally deregulates your fear response at a neural level. Almost 25% of all human thought is inner speech. That means a quarter of your brain's daily processing is shaped by whether you're feeding it threat signals or reward signals. I'm going to read that again. About 25%, a quarter of all human thought is inner speech. Your brain's daily processing is shaped by whether you're feeding it threat signals or reward signals. The circuitry doesn't distinguish between words you hear from someone else or words you generate internally. Both hit the same auditory processing regions. You are quite literally your own most influential voice. Some may think it's cheesy or cosmic, but I've believed it. I bought in a long time ago. I also am an aspiring stoic, and I attempt not to get too high, not too low. But if I'm going to do something, I'm certainly not going to set out to do something and thinking, I'm probably going to fail. F that. Like, don't even do it then. Go do something else. Go do something you think you're going to succeed in, something you think you can win in. And I know this isn't like my mind and my thoughts can't control the market or the price of Bitcoin, but that's where my optimism is baked in, is success principles that many books and many mentors have all instilled in me at a very young age. And I'm again forever grateful they did. Dor says he can't pronounce most of those out loud, so I'm a brave man. Yeah, I read it, but it was different reading it than actually reading it out loud, because I can just mispronounce a word as I'm reading it, and I don't care. Like in my head, it's like it sounds fine, and when I say it out loud, it's like, oh, that was not right. Will Hyperliquid reach 100? Yeah, I think it eventually will. I don't know when, but I think it. I think it will definitely reach 100 at some point. I shouldn't say definitely. I think it reaches 100 at some point. Bitcoin pumping on the oil tanker tools, maybe. But it started pumping before the tools. S&P at all-time high and dollar going lower. Regular folks seeing the pain. I agree with this. It's also why we should be in assets. Like, even if you got a 10-figure windfall, 5-figure windfall you weren't expecting, or you have $10 left over at the end of your paycheck every week, put the $10 in savings. Start some habits today to where you're investing in some assets. Maybe it is just the S&P 500. That's fine. Find mutual funds. Like, not everyone should be trading Bitcoin. Most people should not be playing around with perps and longing and shorting stuff. It's the quickest way to go broke. Like, it's very, very hard. I earlier shared, I think it was Drunken Miller talking about he's never made money shorting. Can have some fun with it, but he was right. He basically shorted 12 different stocks during the dot-com bubble and ended up being right. They all went bankrupt, all 12 of them. So he was right, but he still lost $600 million because timing is hard. Like, and there'll be, today we like to call them crime pumps. Probably a lot of them are, but it's just, the market can be irrational. It is irrational on a short time frame, but over a long time frame, during everyone here listening today, our entire lifetime, the market is up. If you zoom out long enough, it's up. It's up and up and up. And therefore, like, the best way to, I believe, the best way to protect yourself against inflation is, and I also, yeah, they just came out recently that says like 47% of people don't have $500 in savings. I agree. I also know for a fact that on average, I think the tax return this year was 35. I mean, I haven't got a tax return in, I don't know, but that's another story. The average tax return was $3,600. Most people, at least in my experience, most people, when I'm setting this up, but take a guess when our one of our most profitable months in the phone repair / pre-owned phone business was. Same thing with the wireless business. Guess when one of our most profitable months was. November, December were 1 and 2. The golden quarter, fourth, is real. From the day after Thanksgiving through the end of the year, those last 6 weeks of the year are just gangbusters. People are shopping. So November, December were at least in the Verizon business were 1 and 2. Wasn't even the case in phone repair. In fact, several stores, November, December wasn't the best month. Guess what month was often number 1 in the phone repair / pre-owned phone business? Was March, April. Why? Because people would take their $3,600 tax return and they go buy a new iPhone or a pre-owned iPhone. They go spend, they get $3,600 back, and then instead of investing it, they go buy a new phone. They upgrade from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 14. They go buy a second MacBook. And now we benefited from that, but that's part of the problem, and why a lot of people don't have $500 in savings is because they spend every dollar they make. They don't have $500 in savings, but how many of those people that don't have $500 in savings are spending hundreds of dollars a month at Starbucks? It'll blow your mind. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. People will have no savings and they're spending $300 a month at Starbucks. They're spending $10 a day on coffee. I don't spend, I have a little bit more than $500 in savings, and I don't spend $10 a day on coffee. In fact, I rarely buy coffee out. My coffee's free thanks to Nordic Joe's. Shout out Nordic Joe's. I'll go grab their link here in a minute. So this is how I've built wealth, is I just get people to give me free coffee. I kid, but it's not just Starbucks. It is a lot. I mean, and it's not just coffee. It's people are consumers. People spend a lot of money as opposed to save. And I know it's easier said than done. I'm just saying, like, I was shared that I talked about my mentors at a young age, and they said, hey man, here's the millionaire's formula is you take half of what you make, you live off of half of what you make. If you make $100,000 a year, you live off 50K. That means everything, your mortgage, your gas, your groceries, is you budget 50% of what you make. The other 50%, you set aside 20% for taxes. This assumes that self-employed individuals, if you're a W-2 employee, that's already taken care of, it's already taken off your paycheck. So factor out that. I'm talking gross, not net numbers. 20% you set aside for taxes. 10% put in a rainy day fund. Because sooner or later, you're going to have a clogged drain or a flat tire or your roof goes out. And it's a heck of a lot better to tap into a savings account or a money market account or some liquid funds as opposed to having to go put it on an 18%. I used to say 18%. Now it's like a 29% interest rate credit card. That's crazy. That's how you're going to stay broke. So you put 20% aside for taxes, put 10% aside for a rainy day fund. You put 10% aside for long-term savings that you just never touch. Throw it in an IRA. Max out your IRA every year. You take 10% and you give it back. You do some good with it. the first time I heard the example was like tithing, and I'm not trying to make this a religious conversation. I don't go to church, but I do give back when I can, and especially if there's a good cause, I won't hesitate. And now, do I track it to 10%? I would be lying if I said I give 10% of my income back every year, but some years it might be more. But the point is, the bigger point is, don't spend 100% of what you make. You're never going to get ahead. Like, stop consuming. You don't need, like, I mean, we joked about it, but for as hard of a time we gave Steve about his like 3-year journey to buy a new couch, we should have been applauding that. You know, Steve was waiting for his next win. He was waiting for his next windfall to go buy a couch. Instead of going and buying a couch, a $3,000 couch ends up costing $5,000 after he pays the crazy interest on it. He didn't put it on a high interest rate credit. I don't think. I mean, I know Steven. I'm just going to say he didn't. He didn't put it on a high interest rate credit card. He didn't go finance it at the furniture store and pay 20% interest. He saved up. Same thing. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but same thing with his car. He wanted a Tesla. He bought it cash, right? It's like there's a way to get ahead of 500. And if you're in that bucket that has less than $500 savings, say that's okay. That's funny, Von Front. You got me. Community, if you're out there, we this is, I don't know how you do it. Your Trinity, by the way, is maybe my favorite creative genius that listens to the show and puts out the best memes after the show. He did Coffeechella and made it look like a Coachella, like lineup movie poster, and featured all the speakers. Like, it was just really well done. This Von Frunten says today on Coffee with Captain. So somehow Trinity, you're gonna have to work in. You're gonna have to swap a Dave Ramsey meme with my PFP. I'm not like Dave Ramsey's fine. But it's like, it is good advice. Like, and I think like we've gotten so into. I know I'm really sounding boomerish. I can acknowledge that. I fully can acknowledge like this is and for a crypto show, a market show, for me, when I know I often talk about might have just doxed myself or someone close to me there indirectly. And that threw me. Want you gooners out there doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Rewinding my brain. When I'm talking about opening up a 40x long on ETH, that's not my savings. That's not my mortgage. It's not my rent. This is my fun money. I started in crypto in 21 with like 0.2 ETH. I bought some Top Chalk packs. I flipped them into more. When I minted apes, I minted 3 apes. I had 0.24 ETH in my MetaMask wallet. How do I remember I had 0.24? Because I maxed it out. I minted 3 because that's all I had. Because I wasn't going to tap into my 401k to go buy a bunch of digital assets. I wasn't. I thought NFTs were cool. I was having a lot of fun in Top Shot and playing Zed, but I didn't like. I aspired to have a CryptoPunk one day, maybe. Actually, if I'm at the time Apes Minute, I don't think I got CryptoPunks. I thought the art was like pixel art didn't do it for me, and I was just like, I actually probably thought, like, that's crazy to pay $5,000 for a picture. Like, we can have fun. I get the community. I get the utility. Pack rips, like Top Shots got me because I understood collectibles, but I wasn't throwing my other buckets. Like we talked about when Steve was on the show, we used to talk about our buckets, and I wasn't dipping into my long-term buckets to do hyper degenerative stuff. I am a degenerate. Like I have, I don't know, closing on probably like 200 best ball drafts. That's my degen money. And most of that is prior year profits. It's gains from prior years. And I wasn't always here. Like there was times where I was like broke, where I was one of those people that had less than $500 in savings, but I forced, and it's hard. It takes a lot of discipline, especially if you're in that bucket below $500. It takes a lot of discipline to get out of that, but you got to start somewhere. And like, think about that. Like I minted this PFP for $200. if I had a $500 DGen bucket, which quite frankly, I guess my DGen bucket at the time I minted apes, my DGen bucket, my funds I was playing with in crypto was $600. I went all in on minting 3 apes. And that led to, I mean, its peak, solid 7 figures. Cashed out multiple 6 figures. Off of 6. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's the norm. I get that. I was very lucky, very fortunate. But I think I was lucky because I spread my surface area of luck. I take a lot of shots on goal. Some years I win a lot of money playing fantasy. Some years I'm down a little bit. But I don't put my livelihood at risk for TH and DJ and things. And I think that's what like, I'm not concerned over like this hyper gambling society. I'm concerned over the hyper gambling without the backstops, without the other buckets. And I think so much of the younger generation is talking about sports betting and prediction markets and meme coins and crypto. All that's fine. But it's extremely risky if that's all you're doing. And I think that, I don't know why we got off quite on this rant this morning, but I do feel with a little bit of a platform, I feel somewhat of an obligation to, because I talk a lot about like some of the crazy moves I'll make. It's just one piece of my investment portfolio. Like I talk about my ETH and my Bitcoin bags they don't get touched. Like I don't even attempt to sell the tops. Like, could I? Maybe. But yes, thank you very much, Von Frunten, by the way. The reason I had 0.24 ETH in my wallet was because I sold Von Frunten an APMon egg. This is a true story. Otherwise, I probably don't mint my PFP. I would have minted at least 1 ape, might have gotten 2, but I think I sold him that APMon egg for maybe 0.1 ETH. That got me, it probably did. It probably got me more than 0.08. Actually, I wonder now if I'll have to go back and check the chain because I might have sold that APMon egg into a bid, or maybe I listed it because I wanted to go mint more apes. The first ape I minted was before mint out night. It was like 600 something, and it was like a slow burn. Like they actually, kid you not, tomorrow, April 17th is when they sent out their first tweet about the Bored Ape Yacht Club mint 5 years ago. So tomorrow will mark 5 years. They sent out the tweet where it's like, hey, repost this, tweet this, and you could win an ape. They started minting, I think, on 420. 10 days later is when I get turned onto it. They had minted 600 in their first 10 days. Then they did a reveal, and people's volume started picking up. People were like, oh, this is cool. And I thought, I minted one, went to bed at 8 o'clock thinking, I'm going to mint maybe a few more of these over the next several weeks. And I need some, I'm not going to tap into my 401k to do that. I'm not going to move over my other buckets at the time. I wasn't going full on crypto degen. It's like, well, I'm going to sell some of these other assets so I can parlay into some more apes. And I think that might have been the exact night I decided to either accept a WEEF bid or list that APMon egg. Thank you, Von Frunten, for like, some of you think I'm kidding. Like Von Frunten buying that APMon egg literally led to multiple 6 figures of wins for me because it enabled me to mint a couple more. You're a good man. I owe you. I sold it to him on May 1st. Yep, that's exactly the day for 0.22 ETH. What time on May 1st? What time EST? Because when I minted my first ape on April 30th at 8 p.m., I minted the next 2 at, or maybe what I did, maybe what happened is I minted the next 2 at, it's like 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. I've told my dog story before. He woke me up in the middle of the night. I opened up the Discord to complete pandemonium, and I minted what I had in my hot wallet at the time. And then so that probably wiped me out. I was like, okay, I need to free up I want to get more of these. I need to free up some capital. So I sold the APMon egg that same day after apes minted out for 0.22 ETH. Then I was loaded, and I kid you not, I bid on hundreds. I put hundreds of bids on apes, but I was trying to get a rare. I was bidding on gold apes, and none of the bids hit. Where all I had to do was go, I could have swept the floor. I could have got at least 2 more, but I was putting bids out there to try to, I don't know, get greedy or go get a rare. So I took that liquidity from Von Frunten, put a lot of bids, and none of them hit. The 8 bids didn't hit. Also, ghosts were minting at the time. There was like Gas Wars on OpenSea. They was the artist that did Ghost was minting them directly on OpenSea, but he had just launched it at random times. And it was true. It was like the first Gas Wars. And I didn't get any of those, but I can go back in my Gmail inbox. I still have all those emails. I think I had at one point had over 300 bids on Ghosts and never hit one. Way down memory lane, way off of Dave Ramsey. But my point is a serious one, that whether you have 500 grand or less than $500, like if you don't start sometime, you're never going to start. I know that's profound, but you got to start with something, and start with like just almost every app now you can DCA auto. Like start with a $5 buy. I think Joey, I don't know if he's still doing it, but I remember a while back he learned you could DCA on Coinbase, and he started buying Bitcoin and ETH and I don't know, Chainlink or something, a little bit a week. And that stuff adds up. I wish I would have been more disciplined and done more of that as a younger kid. Like I knew the stuff, and I still don't execute it perfectly. I still skew a little too much degen, or I think where I've done well, where I don't do the best is when I hit a big win, it's like found money. And so I play it too much as house money instead of taking enough off the table. That's where I've struggled, is like when I ran up a huge portfolio in the NFT mania, I should have took 50% off the table and put it away in S&P 500, gold, Bitcoin, as opposed to I just kept playing the casino because it was found money. It was house money, which cool, but taking chips off the table when you hit big wins, that's what I've probably struggled with the most. May 1st at 8:49 a.m. So yeah, this is exactly how this went down. Minted the first one at 8 p.m. My dog woke me up at 4 a.m. I had 0.16, 0.17 in my MetaMask. I minted 2 more at 4:30 in the morning and went back to sleep for like an hour, woke back up, and I was like, okay, I need some liquidity. I want to go get more of these. And at 8:49 a.m., I sold an AP Moneg Devon Front for 0.229 ETH. I love blockchain. Isn't that cool? Like we would never know this if it was on eBay. It's probably a lot cooler for me than it is Von Frunten, but this would be coffee with Vaughn had he bought 3 apes that morning instead of an AP Moneg. I kid. We lost Joey. Joe, I don't know if it was your I don't know if it was your Android phone rugging you or you had to step into a meeting because I ranted a little too long. Got on my Dave Ramsey soapbox. But in all seriousness, it is good stuff. DeFi ads. I make my own cold brew using immersion circulator with 1 gallon mason jar, keeping in the fridge. Cost me less than $3 a week for coffee. That's pretty sweet. I need to learn how to do this. I will chill on the tattoos. I don't. I truly like tattoos. I find them attractive, and I've wanted to get one. I probably will still get one someday. That was that caused me to pause. Think about it. Well, yeah. Also, if you're playing with house money, you can get a really, really bad surprise come tax time. Hopefully, if anyone didn't, let's do this. I see Mike and Shallow on the stage. We'll get to you right after this break. I promise. But that's a good reminder to do a daily market update. I ranted a lot about markets. We've not got an official daily market update. Let's do that now. This is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax. If you filed an extension yesterday, it's fine. If you need help with your crypto tax, if you have crypto transactions, that's probably what led to the extension. Get some help. Head to awaken.tax, use code coffee50 or return coffee50 for returning users. Save $50 off your tax prep software. It's crypto tax software made by crypto natives. And this is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax.
It's market update time. Let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean. Got your back. Grab your coffee. Let's break it down. Daily update. Right now.
All right. This is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken. Again, awaken.tax. Use code coffee50. If you're a returning user, return coffee50. And we are green once again. Not across the board, but majors looking pretty good. There was a pump, a little bit of pullback. Bitcoin still up 0.5% on the day, 74,741. I think we had 75 today. ETH up 0.4% to 2342. XRP up 3.69. BNB up 0.64. Solana up 2.3. Tron, the only one in the top 10 that's even a slightly bit red, but it's only down 0.16. Doge up 3.57. Hyperliquid up another 1.41%, just at 45 once again, and is up 15% in the last week alone. If we head over to NFTs, we had another. Oh yeah, by the way, that whole Von Frunten buying my AP Egg story, we didn't meet until 2 years after that fact. That's why it's so cool. It's like we truly would have never had any clue. It wasn't like we're in the same Discord. Like, I can't believe I bought this. Like, we didn't know until 2 years later. And then I don't remember how I don't know how we connected those dots. Like, I might have been talking about the story and went back and looked at the AP Egg and saw that it was Von Frunten in OpenSea. Maybe he found it. But yeah, 2 years later, we finally met and eventually would connect those dots. That Von Frunten basically funded my my Web3 career. CryptoPunks flat on the day, 25.99. Apes up 1% to 6.35. Pudgies up 0.3 to 4.08. Mutants up 1.3% to 0.99, heading into Snoop Dogg weekend. Del Mundo's up 24% to 0.08. Milady's down 3% to 1.25. Hyper's flat, 400 Hype. Quirky's up another 1.92% to 1.3. VFriends holding strong at 1.32. Moonbirds even got a little pump, 6.6% on the day, 0.81. Azuki down slightly, 0.76. Doodles down 2%. Good Vibe Club down 3%. Normies down 8% to 0.13. Other Deeds flat at 0.08. And the one token I didn't mention, I should have shouted out, Fartcoin up 10% on the day. Hot air rises, even in a, whether you think it's a bull or a bear, it doesn't matter. Hot air continues to rise. Joey, if you can make it back, we'll go to you. B Epic says buy some Charizards. Apes minted, that mint out was that day. Apes minted out the morning of May 1st. I want to say by 8 a.m. that day, they had minted out. That's probably when I think what happened is, like, this is 6953 is my PFP is the number. So I cleared out my hot wallet at 4:30 in the morning, and then woke up intending to mint more, sold my AP Egg, and it was already minted out. And so, like, okay, I'm gonna go see if I can get some secondary, and didn't have any luck. But yeah, they minted out. They started minting on 420, and it took them 10 full days to actually mint out. And that night, though, it was actually Frosty's had a tweet yesterday. What's one memory of the Bored Ape Yacht Club you never forget? I'll never forget that. It was just by true blind luck. My dog woke me up. He never gets up that early. I'm up at 4 a.m, taking him out. I open up my phone to the Discord because it was the last thing I was in, and it's just literal pandemonium. And this is before the NFT mania really took off. Before mints like that took off. Like, I never experienced anything like that. I don't think anything like that had ever happened exactly like that in crypto. Yeah, there was like pack drops. That was a queue, and it just wasn't the same excitement. Pandemonium is the best word. Like, excitement doesn't do it justice. It was literal pandemonium. You had Pranksy in there minting 1,000 of these things. You had, Jimmy, who's moved on from the space. He minted a couple hundred, I think. OSF and Mando, I didn't even know at the time. They minted they were picking up like 80 of these things. Justin Blau, who reminds me, Nifty Gateway is closing. Don't forget to get your NFTs off there. I still have 2 NFTs I need to get off Nifty Gateway. That was another NFT I minted, was Justin Blau's, and he's in there minting some of these. April 23rd. So we got like another week to get I kept getting errors, so I may have to reach out to trouble support, but you got like a week to get your NFTs off Nifty Gateway. I don't hold any bearish, but I've been meaning to pick up one for a while. Be Epic, Katie, gone all in. I see the general's out here every day talking about his bearish buy of the day. I do need to add a bearish NFT. I'm with you. Let's do this. Joey's back with us. Appreciate you all bearing with my not 5-minute cold open, but 75-minute monologue this morning, which we may start doing a little more of. Not 75 minutes, but I am thinking. Actually, had a talk with my favorite social media advisor yesterday, who I'm remaining nameless for now, unless he gives me the green light to share, because I don't want his DMs to be flooded. But may start doing a little more structured opening, basically to set up clips, not just clips, but short videos 5-10 minutes. It's challenging to do that once we start incorporating the audience, but might play around with the format a little bit. We're still going to go live 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Day. It'll still be a community-based show, but might play around with allowing me to at least get through. Here's 5 topics, or here's 3 topics I got to talk about today before we go to discussion. But 75 minutes is good. So Joey, GM sir, what brought you up this morning?
Yeah, buddy. I came up a long time ago when you were talking about like consumers and spending and things like that. And then also when you started talking about like allocating your money. But for me, I guess to go way, way, way back to when you were talking about like how S&P is at an all-time high and all that stuff. Like I've always looked at the power of the dollar for me as like a consumer, as like what's going on in the world and how it impacts me, right? So what can I buy for $1? That matters to me. How much does it cost me? Like, to your point, the eggs, the bread, the milk, right? The gas. So while things might not feel, and I don't know what that number is, I should have looked it up while I was waiting. But I think that's, for me as a consumer, what matters the most is how far can my dollar go? And nowadays, a dollar doesn't go very far, but that's, usually that's like the thing is how far does a dollar go? Any chance you have that information, Cap, based on like all the stuff you were looking up, is like, what is the buying power right now?
I don't, but I can check real quick.
While you're looking that up, you mentioned the 50% thing. So Damon John from Shark Tank, he's very famously talked about the $3 rule for him. So his rule is if you have $3, $1 pays for your living expenses, $1 goes for an investment, and $1 goes for what you want. If there's nothing you want, you take that $1 and put it in the investment category. So now there's $2 in the investment category, and that will build fast enough to pay for your living expenses. And then you'll end up having more money to spend on what you want. But that's his famous, like if you Google literally right now, Damon John, $3 investment strategy, you'll find videos of him doing interviews and talking about how he looks at what you should do with your money. And he always explains it as $3.
Yeah, that's probably easier than the formula. I can't remember the book that even came from, but that's easier. That's an easier one.
I always thought it was 50, 30, 20. That's how I always thought it was. Like what you were saying, which is 50% of the money you make should go for your living expenses. Then 30% goes towards investing. And then 20% goes towards like discretionary, like whatever you want. But then when you think about it, like if you're really spending 50% of your income just to live, that's a lot of money. So that's why when most people, it's like a third. 50% kind of makes more sense.
50% is a lot of money, but most people spend like 110% of what they make or 101% of what they make. Like most people are the reason we don't have most people with $500 in savings is the keeping up with the Joneses impact, or we're spending as much or more than we make. It's why we have this isn't like, oh, look at me. But I'm proud I don't have any consumer debt. Like I know, do I use credit? Yeah, but I paid off. And I'm not getting raked over the coals on, I don't know, 10, 15, 18% interest rate, 20, 30 now. I guess
20%. It's like, isn't it like 29%? And then I think Trump tried to pass an executive order to cap it or something because it got so high.
Yeah, it's crazy high. It doesn't.
No, you have to.
I'm trying to use my words carefully because it does impact me.
There's no fiscal education anymore.
Yes, it does impact me. Just doesn't impact me directly because I'm not paying 29% on a credit card. Like I'd rather. I mean, true story. If I needed a loan, I could go get cheaper money off my JPEGs. I could go get a loan out on my ape at 15% if I wanted. Like but most people will spend not just 50%, they'll spend up to, if not more than 100% of what they make. And that's what starts this vicious cycle. The 50, 30, 20 that you mentioned, yeah, it's basically the same thing I described, other than like the 30%, which is broken down. 10% long-term or 20% long-term, 10% short-term, like and that's where while it's not perfect per percentage, I delineate my long-term bucket with my DGen bucket, and then I have fun with my DGen bucket. I'm not the best. I've done well trading. I've made some really good moves. Where I need to get better is taking more off the table when I hit big wins with the DGen bucket. I just if I had a big win, I have more degenerate fun, and whatever. I'm okay with it. I'm very fortunate. I don't like. I'm grateful where I am, and it's fun for me. It's entertainment as much like my best ball stuff. I'm not like I don't. Would I love to ship one of these tournaments for $250,000 or $1 million? Yeah, sure, it'd be fun. It's not why I'm playing. I'm not firing 200 best ball tournaments because I'm expecting to win $1 million. I'm doing it because it's entertainment for me. I enjoy it. And so instead of going and buying a $10 latte that is going to have zero return, I'll go play a $10 best ball draft while I walk my dog or spin on the bike for 30 minutes. And maybe that returns $250,000. It may sound crazy, but it happens. While I have not hit a $250,000 hit on the DFS or the best ball street yet, I've had multiple 5-figure wins, and it doesn't happen if I'm just spending all that extra money on Starbucks. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect when it comes to money management, but instead of spending beyond my means, I'll gamble beyond my means, or gamble to my means, I guess. I'll take the $10 latte and I'll put that $10 in a DFS play or a sports bet. And that's where I think a lot of, I shouldn't just say younger, a lot of people in general could get ahead. And hey, maybe if it's not enjoyable for most people, then just put that $10 a day buy into the S&P 500, into Bitcoin. You're good. I guarantee you're going to be further ahead, and you'll quickly have $500 in savings than you will if you just keep spending that extra $10 a day on Starbucks. Joe, I did pull up the consumer price index for how far a dollar gets. Today it's 30. So like 1983 was 100. It's basically been chopped. The purchasing power of a dollar has been chopped by 2/3. So it's 1/3 of what it was in 1983.
And what about like recently? Like, what is it, to your point of like how you were looking at what's happened since the Iran conflict? Like, what's in the last like 12 months or the last 24 months? What's happened to our dollar? Does it show?
If you look at the last year, not much. It went from like 31.3 down to 30.3. So down 1.
Okay. So it's not bad. I mean, it's to be expected with inflation. And
yeah.
It's going to go down. I mean,
exactly.
It's the world we live in now. And then to your point, what you're talking about, I think the biggest issue we have today is there's no fiscal education anymore. Like when I was in school, we had home economics. We had home finance. Like we had things that like we learned about like building a budget and like all that stuff that like kids don't do anymore in school and even in high school and college. And I think the difference too is like when I was younger, my parents would sit down and they would balance their checkbook. And you would sit there and you would like kind of sit with them and be like, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm balancing my checkbook. And you're like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, I'm calculating all the, looking at all the checks I've written compared to how much money we have to make sure that I'm not overspending. And like all of this used to happen when we were younger. And for the older people, for the younger people here, like that haven't seen anybody write a check or know what balancing a checkbook is, right? Like it was a major part of like your parents' weekly and monthly like responsibilities was to make sure they weren't. And even when I opened my first business at 22 years old, I had to balance my checkbook for my business. And I had to be really careful as a small business, like floating, right? Like I would float money with checks because I knew how long it would take for them to deposit the check and then for it to clear. And then, right, like this was a normal part of life back in the day. Now everything is, instantaneous with debit cards and credit cards and whatever. But I think we just need more fiscal education so people can understand like what they're getting themselves into. And yes, I know houses are more expensive and all those things, right? Like it's different now, but you still got to learn how to manage your money. I think it's really important for people to understand like what it takes to get ahead financially. Because if you do those things, right, like if you live in a smaller apartment or you buy a smaller house first, you can set yourself up better in the future than, jumping head first and, putting yourself behind the eight ball. Debt's not fun. Like it's really, really, like I still owe the government $16,000 from a year where I made a lot of money as a 1099 employee, but lost my job. And I was like, well, I can't afford to pay my taxes this year, so I'm going to set up a payment plan to pay it back. And I've been paying it back for 10 years now, and the interest rate is terrible. But if I hadn't have done that, who knows where I would have been financially, because I would have had like no money. And it sucks, like carrying debt like that. It's really painful. So we just, at the end of the day, we need more fiscal education.
I agree wholeheartedly. More fiscal education. I am an optimist, but I'm like cautiously optimistic, or maybe more hopium, that our public education system anyways, actually improves or changes and starts, sharing some of this stuff with the younger generation. It really is, it's important. And I hope someone today maybe took something out of this. And I also want to acknowledge, I'm very grateful, I'm in a very fortunate spot. I'm very grateful to be where I am. Very grateful that people shared some of this stuff with me at a very young age. And I could also acknowledge that things are tight. Like, especially if you have kids, it's very expensive. They just saw a tweet this past week. It's like, costs, I think, 500 grand, 300 grand, 500 grand to raise a kid from 0 to 18 nowadays. That's crazy. I would say it's probably double that if you have a kid that's in like travel sports. Like it is silly expensive. Insurance is insanely expensive. Like groceries, insanely expensive. Like I get it. And if it was tight before, it's very, very tough when prices go up and you're already basically maxing out your budget to then like, where the hell am I going to find money to pay myself, to put money in savings? It's hard. Attempt to find a way to do that first, even if you're starting with like $5 a week. One less latte. That would be my advice. I see we got Shallow and Mike on stage.
Yeah. Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say, when I got laid off in 2023, I had to make a decision on whether to stop contributing to like to my kids, like essentially like investment accounts, which is setting them up for the future, or my own, or like cut back other things. Right. And I made a conscious decision, and it's a difficult decision for people to make. And I made a conscious decision at that point. I was like, I'm not going to spend money on like buying stuff on Call of Duty Warzone. I'm not going to spend money, right, like eating out as much. I'm not going to do, like, I literally sat down and said, okay, if I can cut out all of this stuff so I can keep putting money into my kids' retirement, into my retirement, DCAing into crypto, like, what is it going to take? And I think that that's just, as you get older, it's something that you just have to learn to do, is make sacrifices that suck in the short term, but benefit in the long term.
Yeah, well said. I agree. It's hard, and it's even harder if you're wondering where you're gonna make the mortgage this month. I get it, but I do feel that from a not talking inflation, not talking about Main Street, but talking markets, talking Wall Street, like, man, far more signs for me, far more signals that we're somewhere in a bull. Might be a short-lived one, but man, things are kind of ripping. I mean, you don't have to zoom out like 6 months or a year, like 6 weeks. In the last 6 weeks, most things are up pretty big since this conflict broke out. And I understand all the downside, all the other impacts that's having. Again, further driving home the point of why diversification is good and why owning assets is good and not just being all in cash. Shallow and GM, always appreciate you joining us. What brought you up this morning?
Just listening to a lot of the things that you said. I mean, to be fair, I had a lot of different takes on what you were sharing. I think what's super interesting, though, is the positive mindset that basically fires off the neurons to basically drive opportunities and drive, the proper chemicals, biochemicals in your system to help, promote, positive health. It's the same thing with negative thoughts, right?
Yep.
It releases off cortisol, it releases off other stress mechanisms, and it kind of pushes things down. So I definitely think a positive mindset is always ideal, because what's the downside to it? It may not happen overnight, but if you do this over time, it drives motivation for you to do and accomplish little goals, micro goals, if you want to say it that way. But I think with the real value for me too is, when you talk about this current economic state, which is another topic that you talked about as well, outside of a lot of the crime season that goes on, the administration that we have is basically being perpetuated by the head, which is like, as long as S&P is doing well, he's doing well in terms of his policies. Everything his policies is driven usually by economic means. And so you kind of see that matriculate, right? I do think, Iran taking payments in crypto doesn't hurt our industry at all. It only creates bullish signals. But I think too, in general, when it comes to the economics of things, when it comes to tax season, I think a lot of this does come to proper fiscal management. But when it comes to what Joey shared, home economics doesn't really apply in today's standard, because it's one who uses a checkbook. But the other thing too is this is where we start seeing the pivot.
Real quick, how many people were listening in and like, a checkbook? What the hell is a checkbook? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I totally vibe with that too. I was laughing when he said that, only because it was valid in the sense that you manage your money,
yes,
you manage your accounting, to the sense that you actually had a balance, right? Which means that you understand incoming flow versus your expenses. So I think that's just basic, bookkeeping. That's necessary for anyone to kind of manage what's going on. And I think a lot of that gets lost. Ideally, you're using, AI to help do some of these things in a lot more rapid fashion. But to the other point too is, when you talk about the kids, and I definitely hear about it and see it, just be having my own kids the same way I'm sure you do as well, is that's why they get into crypto. They get into some of these really hyper speculative markets, because they see an easy win, at least in terms of all the people on the timeline and Instagram being like, oh, I made all this money. It was quick, it was fast. And I think that's the problem, right? I don't know off the top of my head the quote per se, but it was basically like, real money isn't built overnight. It's small wins over a long period of time. And it's when you have enough money to be able to, allocate to something bigger, that's where people, make that 10x, that 100x on the stock market or on something else. But it shouldn't be larger than 10% of your actual savings. Or at least your discretionary funds at any one point in time. So I think there's so much validity to what's going on, but I do think that with this current administration in the crypto space, and whether you see it with the Clarity Act, whether you see it with all the things moving, again, I have to remind people, prediction markets is driven off of blockchain and smart contracts, or they call it event contracts. You start seeing all this stuff happen. So it's definitely priming the pump for opportunity to happen and crime season to go on longer. But I think the difficulty is understanding, like, to take profits. And, it's the basic stuff that we all have learned over the past 5 years, especially for the people who jumped into NFTs, is that you have to take profits. And I think that's the larger outcome, is that you can't keep playing with the money, assuming that it'll keep giving you returns. You have to be able to take profits, save it aside for the next move. And the crazy part is another study I read too, is that, with men, we're so much more driven by emotions and opportunity, that we have these dopamine hits and we invest in like everything all the time. Women actually are the better investors, because they're more calm about it, and that they invest in the things they have conviction on. So I think in terms of like value for the audience and the chat, like, we have to make sure that the things that we do aren't high risk, but are balanced majority by things that are more stable over time, versus the things that we think will hit, like meme coins and all the stuff that are hitting. So I think that's the other biggest problem. Now that I said it, it's like that was the biggest detriment to meme coins, and how many people left the space, is because people were betting things that they shouldn't have, grocery money on meme coins, and then obviously had a negative outcome from it.
Yeah, well said. The only thing I would add to that is, yes, I agree. And I do think it's okay to, it's so hard because to do it in moderation. Like, I am all for whether younger generation, older generation, for someone who's looking to get ahead and looking to build up a savings, I'm all for taking some asymmetrical shots. Yes, most wealth is created over long term. For some people, that long term, and I understand that where they may feel like, how am I ever going to get there? How am I ever going to afford a house? Well, take some shots on gold. Take those $10 shots that might turn into, a 10,000x gain. Like take some asymmetrical swings at the bat with money that you can afford to lose, where you're not going to be homeless, you're not going to be without your car, or not be able to make your mortgage or your rent payment if it doesn't hit. But I think for some, it's while still doing the long-term bucket, still buying Bitcoin, still investing in the S&P 500 or mutual funds, take a small sliver, take that one less Starbucks a week and swing the bat at something that a 20-leg parlay or something, whatever you enjoy. But I think it's okay to chase asymmetrical returns. I think the bigger problem is a lot of people, once they start chasing asymmetrical returns, it's all they chase, and they forego the long-term bucket and any extra disposable income. They're just swinging at these extremely unlikely ones to hit, and then they just end up doing that on credit cards or going into deeper debt as opposed to actually getting ahead. It does take discipline. I think it comes back to that financial education, and that's the only and I would add is I do think it's okay to be swinging the bat for asymmetrical returns. Just not only should you not be doing it with your rent money, you should do it after you fill the bucket of Bitcoin or mutual funds. Mike, GM, welcome back to the stage. What brought you up this morning?
Your talk about this brought me up a long time ago. I've been doing tax returns for years now, and it never fails. It seems every year somebody says, "Hey, I got $5,000 back last year, but only 500 this year. Why?" And part of that is a mindset that people have, right? They kind of use it as a savings account because they don't trust themselves that they will just spend all of their money. And I always explain it to them. There's three thoughts on this. You can do that, give the IRS your money all year with no interest coming back to you or anything like that, and then just get it at the end of the year, or save all that money yourself, put it into an account that might earn 3, 4, 5% interest online, right? And then you can pay those taxes at the end of the year. Or if you come out more even with the IRS, well, that's another mindset, right? You're just perfect. This is what I think I was going to owe, and this is what I owe, or this is what I get back, like $100 or something like that. Now you've held on to most of your money all year, and it's a mindset that nobody's ever talked about generally.
Coincidentally, ironically, I don't know the right word. I think Basint came out and said this yesterday. Am I mistaken? I saw the headlines, but I'm pretty sure Scott Basint come out and said, change your withholdings, take home more. And then some people are the ones way out there, quotes we and say, oh, they're going to abolish the IRS. This is 2020. This will be your last time you ever pay taxes for the most people. Like there won't be April 15th will hit different next year. I don't think that's the case. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe there's some changes to taxes in the US, but yeah, I think Percent came out yesterday and encouraged people to basically just what you said is don't give all your money to the federal government and then get a refund. Like keep that money. And if you end up keep it, save it, earn 10% on your money, and then, but don't spend it, save it. So if you do end up owing, you can pay that bill. Did you see Basint's comment on this?
I did. And yeah, that's kind of what I took out of it as well. I didn't see the whole thing, but that's what I got. Probably because of where my mind is with tax returns and stuff. That's what I took it as. So it's not bad. But again, it's to Joey's point too about growing up and trying to learn economics from your parents. Basically, you're kind of stuck in where your parents were because that's what they encourage, right? And it's I think the financial education in this country, obviously for kids, is terrible. I remember when I graduated from high school, I'm older than everybody in the room. And when I graduated from high school, I learned how to write a check. That was my financial education. And you know, I'm good at math. I could balance things, so that wasn't an issue. But I grew up in my dad's business, and so I learned a lot from that. But if I didn't have my dad as an entrepreneur and running a business, I never would have learned those skills, because nobody tells you where to go to learn those skills, you know. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. I just thought it would be great at some point a few years ago, before the tax law changes that Trump made the first term in office. I was going to set up a business to go around to the colleges around here and teach graduating seniors about what really matters with their money.
Yep.
You know, with taxes and things like that too, because nobody ever tells you that. They
Yep.
talk about guns with butter in economics. They don't talk about day-to-day life, and this is what happens when you file a tax return.
I don't think I had one. I mean, I guess giving Ohio State credit, accounting 211 and accounting 212 were weed out classes at Ohio State. So like the best grade you could get was a C, and they tried to get a lot of people to drop out of the business school. The business school at Ohio State's actually, it's a top, I don't know what it is today. At the time, it was like number 13 in the country, which is incredible for a state school. And it had just been brand new buildings. It was an awesome program, but they tried to weed out a lot of kids by having these weed out classes. Accounting 211 and 212 was one of them. So I took the easy route and took it I took it off campus. It was the only two classes I took it was Columbus State, maybe was the local community college I took, because they just the credits transfer. So it was like a known hack to not have to deal with the weed out classes and get your GPA dinged. You could take the Columbus State classes and they transfer in. So maybe they talked about like taxes and actual financial education there, but I can't think of a class, high school or college, where they taught real life stuff like this. And similar to you, like similar but different. My parents weren't entrepreneurs. My parents were incredible people. They incredibly grateful. I was adopted as a baby, and I couldn't have picked better parents. Like amazing individuals, amazing human beings, instill a lot of core values and morals and ethics, and extremely grateful for my parents and the upbringing I had. But they weren't entrepreneurs. To your point, now I remember my mom, dad sitting down, they bounce the checkbook, they pay the bills, but like, and this isn't like, it's not an insult to them at all. It's just the reality is, like, I think as like a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, I made more money in a year than they ever made combined. Like they had good jobs. My dad worked actually for, a good government job and an incredible pension for 40 years. He was building dams and like doing really important stuff, incredible engineer, but he might've topped out at like, I don't know, like 80 grand a year, maybe. My mom was a social worker, and like they knew what they knew in terms of investments and financial education. And I said it, but I was very, very grateful that when I was in college, I got, for whatever reason, I had a few mentors that kind of took me under their wing, and they were people who were self-made. They had tremendous financial success, and they turned me on to not just the few books I've mentioned, but just these different success principles that got me thinking differently about money and what's possible. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And the easiest way to learn, or maybe the safest way, is find people who have done it. Find people who have the success or the results or live the life you want to live, and ask them if they'll share. You'd be surprised how many people will open up their mind and their knowledge and help you along the way. I'm going to play this video because we talked about, it's just 19-second clip. Basant, I'm going to play the video, and then we'll come back to see if there's any comments. Mike, if you want to get back in here, you can. If not, we'll go to Jed, because I'm not sure, and I don't mean to offend either of you. Mike said he's the oldest person in the room. I know, because we've talked. I know you've got me beat, but I don't know. Jed might be between us. He might have you beat. I'm not really sure. I don't know the exact numbers, but I kid, Jed. I'm just poking. But this is Basant. This was out yesterday.
Encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so, because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase, be on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year. Encourage everyone out there watching.
I mean, this is he. By the way, he's become, by far, I think, I can't even tell you all, but he's by far my favorite person in this administration. Mainly because he fights other people in the administration on a regular basis, it seems like. That's who I hope they surprise us with a card, with this UFC card, this UFC bout at the White House. I don't think it's going to be pay-per-view, but I would pay any amount of money to see if they put Scott in the ring. And if you're not familiar, he's a gay man that lives in a big giant pink house and just beating the crap out of people in this administration. I'm not making this up. This is, I think, been confirmed by multiple sources now, that he's gotten He's beat a couple of people up that had it coming. Maybe not beat him up is hard, but he definitely threw some punches. I think at least if half the stuff you hear coming out there is true. Anyways, I digress. Jed, GM, speaking of entrepreneurs and successful business people, runs one of the finest steakhouses in all of New York City. What brought you up this morning, Jed? GM, appreciate you.
But I think you got me beat. Mike sounds young. I don't know. I'm 48, but I think you got me beat, Cap.
I don't have you beat. Oh man, it's time for some more Botox. I'm not 48, not yet. Don't put those years on me. I turned 46 in like a little over 3 months. I turned 46.
Yeah, I completely forgot I was turning 45 this year. I was having a conversation with somebody. I was like, yeah, I'm 43. And my brother's like, no, dumbass, you turned 45 this year. And I was like, oh, don't remind me.
I did it all year. I kept saying I'm being 40. I'm going to be 47 this year. I was like, man, yes,
I'll be 61 next month.
Wow, you sound young, man. That's crazy. Are you a CPA or?
I'm not a CPA. The tax job, I used to teach actors how to do taxes at the Screen Actors Guild back in the late 90s. And it was my waiting tables job when I was acting full time, so I didn't have to wait tables. This is what I did.
Gotcha. I didn't even really come up for the tax stuff, but it's funny. Alpha D didn't send me this video. I put it down on the purple plate, and it's basically saying that that taxes are voluntary. I think it's bullshit, but I don't know. If you want to check out the video, he sent it to me last night. Funny.
I saw that. There's a lot of really bad information online. So
I figured that. I mean, I'm like, did you try this yet? I'm like, because I don't think this is gonna go over too well. It was funny that he sent it last night.
Part of it is right in the fact that if you're making cash instead of wages, and they're withholding from you, right? You're an LLC or an S corp or whatever, and you can write off a lot of expenses through those companies. You can't write off your entire life though. When he goes from $100,000 to $10,000, and you're spending 90% of your money, and you get to write it all off. I was like, oh my God, this guy, he needs to shut up because that is not right. Only the business expenses are deductible, not your entire personal life. So anyway, I'll let you talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually came up here for the show, and he said, did you say that men are more emotional than women when it comes to trading?
I didn't say that, but
yes, there's a study. Absolutely.
I would definitely love to see that because I don't believe that for 1 second. I think we're definitely more risky, but as far as emotional, I wouldn't go that far. But
so I actually going to agree with Jed. I think I'm much further out than the average female on risk, but I'd also say I'm much less emotional. Like I don't care. Like I mean I should care.
I guess that's a loaded term in my sense. I think let's reevaluate the term emotional. I think that they're better at managing conviction and not doing it on the daily or weekly, that when they see things that they're more risk adverse, and so therefore usually they tend to have overall a stronger portfolio in terms of profits versus potentially losing it all. And I think when it comes to that, it's just a gambling nature of it, right? If you're doing more risky things on a more common basis, you're less likely to actually have wins, and then you'll be hitting losses. That's just the game, right? That's like the house.
Like core memory mine. Core memory mine now was the night of 10/10. I had a dinner party I had to go to, and the girl I was dating at the time was she's very successful, does very well, and rather bougie. Like instead of having $300, $500 trips to Costco's, it was $300 dinners on a regular basis. But it was her friends had us over, and the husband shared he literally showed his portfolio and was down $300,000 on the day. And he retired, he's done well, he's fine, but he was down $300,000 on the day, just down, not like. And I just sat there, calm, cool, and collected. Did not share what I got wiped out that day because I wasn't. I mean, I was down on the day, but I literally got my perp portfolio got completely wiped out. Like I was a couple of them, and down on the day was an understatement. And I just just another day as far as like dinner conversations go, but. I think because I saw her jaw drop when he said he was down $300,000 on the day. It was just like his market was down. Like he didn't lose his investments. He didn't get wiped out. He didn't get liquidated. He was just, market got crushed that day. And I saw her jaw drop. Like, I'll just keep this one to myself. Anyways, I digress. Really enjoyed the conversation. I feel like a lot of good advice today, sage advice on all fronts. Thank you for talking me off my shoving all the chips in on feeling tinglies that the market is like the bull. We're in a bull. I guess my to wrap it up before we do, I'll do a keeping it real, and then we'll get you out of here. But my question would be, these are big ifs. If we don't think we're in a bull now, and what then is the catalyst? Is it the war? Is it what are we looking for? I guess what signals, what catalyst? Is it just more time? Is it like we've been up and to the right for the last 6 weeks? Is it 6 months? And like, okay, yeah, this is a bull. Like when will we look back? Because I feel like I feel we bottomed, and I don't like acknowledging that it doesn't mean like it's the end of inflation or it's going to be easier at the pump and at the grocery store. But I do feel like as far as markets go, I do feel like we've bottomed, and I don't know how violent it's going to be. I don't know how much it rips from here. I do think it's going to remain extremely volatile, but I kind of I'm good either way, because I feel good about the markets right now, and I have for a few weeks. I can't say I was feeling great on February 28th, but feel like we got out of like the initial conflict sell-off. And if this is a bear, buckle up for the bull then. That's kind of where I net out on this. But Jed, we'll let you get back in here, and then I'll do a keeping it real. We'll talk about this Kraken IPO. Not just the IPO, but they also raised again. And I don't think this is happening if we're in the depths of a bear. I don't. Go ahead, Jed.
I mean, I don't know if we're in the bull, but I feel like we kind of bottomed. And I don't remember who did the last interview with Michael Saylor, when that was kind of the most fear I've ever had, when he was talking about, basically almost getting Bitcoin going to 8,000 or maybe zero. He was just very unsure of himself, and I've never seen him like kind of in a big. And now just coming back and the way he's been buying lately, it's just like I feel like that was the manipulation's over. They got it to where they wanted to, and it's time now to stop buying. That's why I kind of feel like we bottomed.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like maybe that's a better way to put it. Is maybe it's too much to say we're in a bull. I feel pretty confident that we've bottomed. Now, might we go back to 65K? Yeah, I don't know if those call them like 40, 50K Bitcoin. I don't see it. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I also, they say sell in May and go away. I don't know, man. I don't know if I think it could be a fun summer. And although Diablito says when is it ever bullish in the summer, it is usually quiet. Yeah, that's why they say sell in May and go away. But midterms, for those asking, midterms are November, and it will be interesting to see if Debs run on anti-crypto again. I think they would be. I don't think they'll run on anti-crypto. I think they'll run on anti-crime. I could see them calling out things that don't look great, but I don't know as if it's just too risky to run anti-crime would be my, as a non-political person, would be my guess. I would be shocked if we see, or I'd be shocked if we see anti-crypto, anti-crime. Yes. Shallon shared the article on Women in Investing 2026 Outlook, talking about emotions. More recently, a 2025 report by Wells Fargo found that women's risk-adjusted investment returns were higher than men's. In addition, women-led joint accounts outperformed those by men on an account basis, on an absolute basis. I agree with that. I think that doesn't surprise me. But again, as an aspiring Stoic, pride myself on not getting too high when things are great, not too low when things are low. But man, is it fun? Euphoria is fun. Let's take me back to NFT bull mania, because I'd even do it again and round trip it again. It was just fun. It was an enjoyable time. I wouldn't round trip it again, but I would take more off the top. I would book more of the wins, not screenshot the wins. Let's do this. Let's not call it October. Yeah, I agree. Don't forget about Abstract April, though. Kid, it's a joke. I'm just kidding. This is speaking of fun things. I am actually looking forward to going to Vegas for the first time in a while. We've got Bitcoin Vegas coming up, and then we will follow that with Dominion, which is the conference from Doma. Head to luma.com/Dominion 2026. Use code CWC and get a discount on your Dominion ticket. Join myself and Payne out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be doing some interviews and looking forward to the trip. Also, my first Bitcoin conference, so looking forward to that as well. Again, head to Luma. You can also go to app.doma.xyz to learn more. They are bringing domains on chain and not messing around. Go check out their account. I'll pin a post up top here in a second. They are bringing some massive OG domainers into the ecosystem and some pretty cool stuff. Let me do a quick play in. We'll do a one more shout out and then we'll get you out of here. Enjoy the conversation today. But this is Keeping It Real from Doma.
Buying domains was low, Doma changing the game. One bridge, one standard, now the systems move the same. Registrar, stay central, keep the trust and control. DNS and compliance, still they play the key role. Traded on chain, let new markets arise. Domain value unlocked. Welcome to DomainFi.
Keeping It Real, brought to you by Doma. Head to doma.xyz. And again, got a couple weeks out from Dominion, their annual domain conference about domains. But it's kind of a mix. Like half the speakers are domain OGs. And when I say OGs, like one of the guys we had a chance to host on Doma On Air was sold the first ever sale of on the secondary market of a domain. Real OGs in the domain space are joining that ecosystem. The guy that owns rides.com just put that on chain. And in addition to the domain OGs, they've got a lot of crypto OGs joining as well. Looking forward to the lineup. But keeping it real today, we're going to talk about Kraken. Kraken's parent company, Payward, they just got a $200 million investment from Germany's largest stock exchange operator. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it, but the deal valued at Kraken around $13.3 billion, which is down 33% from the $20 billion just 5 months ago. The same month it filed for its U.S. IPO. Both companies declined to comment on the valuation. This, while down from the last valuation, they had put their IPO on pause, and they just recently brought it back. They confidentially filed for IPO once again. Andy here says, Kraken reigniting their IPO is all you need to know about the shift in capital allocation from the big boys. Floor it. I agree with the sentiment. I just don't think people are going to file for their IPOs and move forward if they don't think it can be a successful launch. These are people that are far more dialed in and connected than myself, and I will follow the big money, the big capital. And I think, again, maybe it doesn't mean full on bull, but I do think that shows that we're past the worst of it. At least I hope the bottom is in, as they would say. New wallet just created, deposited 6.7 million into Hyperliquid. Started buying Hype. We'll be buying Hype for the next 19 hours. Hyperliquid. That is. I went from a crypto shill to a Hyperliquid shill in my friend group chat. Today I shared HIP4 is coming, and if you're not familiar, HIP4 is their play on prediction markets. More on that soon, but. Ryan D Crypto says Hyperliquid's next major upgrade, HIP4, is coming. Instead of siloed prediction market platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi, it integrates event markets and options directly into existing high liquidity trading environment. Distribution plus existing users plus unified margin will dethrone the current kings. Wouldn't be surprised to see a 50 to 75% uplift in revenue as builders integrate these features into their front ends. I agree. Hyperliquid to 100 and then some. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't follow me for financial advice. Don't join us for that. We might get some alpha from time to time, but please don't put any money in you can't afford to lose. fill those long-term buckets first, and then have some fun with some of these swings at the bat at the asymmetrical returns. Hyperliquid could be one of them. Who knows? And it's also we forgot about airdrops. We got in the depths of the bear. Abstract, OpenSea, all these airdrops, these TGEs were delayed, rightfully so. I don't think you wanted to drop in that last environment. I think that'll be another signal, another indicator that we are out of the depths of the bear is when we start seeing some of these TGEs again. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't happen soon. I think that might be, maybe it's this summer. Maybe we get through the sell in May and go away and it doesn't happen. And instead we start seeing some of these crypto protocols actually TGE and start seeing some airdrops again. I mean, if you remember at the beginning of the year, we were talking like there's 40 to 50 legitimate airdrops that were lined up for this year. I think we maybe got 2 of them, and then everyone decided to pump the brakes. I think we could be back sooner than later. That said, if you're new here, if you just found us today, are you serious, Diego? Can't tell if he's being serious or not. Let me do a quick check. This will be our lead topic tomorrow, if true. He's just playing. OpenSea Mobile is around the corner though. But yeah, no. You got me good. You got me good. Market dipping a bit. Yeah, it's volatility is the one thing I'm certain of. The market might go up, it might go down, it might chop, but it's definitely going to be volatile for the foreseeable future. I just think the higher lows, higher highs, when the roller coaster continues, I think it's going to look like this if you zoom out a little bit. I hope so anyways. But if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining. Appreciate all of our guest speakers today. Appreciate Jed and Joey and Mike and Shallowan. Really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate everyone who added value in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time, every weekday here on Coffee. And tomorrow, let me repin that OSF, founder of Rect Drinks, Rect Brands, Rect Guys, all the above, is going to be joining us tomorrow around 9. Would appreciate, if you haven't already, hit the reminder for tomorrow's show. Would greatly appreciate it. He'll be joining us right around that 9 o'clock hour. But we get started at 8 a.m., cover news of the day, trending topics, and then we'll be jumping into that special interview at 9 o'clock. Good, fun Friday show. Friday's usually a little off the rails. I will maybe that's what I'll do. I'll say something I shouldn't say on a recorded show. I'll chug a maybe shotgun. I'll just have to chug a Rect Energy on at 9 o'clock tomorrow on the show, live on air. That's what I'll do. With that, have a wonderful day, everyone. We hope to see you tomorrow at 8. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.